Yowza! I know I was not here yesterday. I just need to sleep. I needed to sleep. So I slept over yesterday and then I was busy at work. And then today I had to take my car for an oil change. So, yeah. So anyway, today we are going to be covering our planets through ascendant series with Venus in the Nakshatra of Hasta. And what happens when Venus is in the sign of Virgo and in a Nakshatra of Hasta in your particular horoscope. And as always, if you do not know where Venus is placed, what sign it's in, what Nakshatra it's in, and Padha it's in, all the other astrological details, for that check out the links here, check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, Aspects, and Mahadashas at the Speed of Light, including on my consultation and Nakshatra reading at this link. And yes, I haven't had time, and I know you guys were asking over and over again about the Mahadasha reading. I might activate it tonight. The thing is, I have to be so careful with that because it overloads my brain. Okay, but anyway, let's get started with our Venus and Hasta Nakshatra. So the Nakshatra of Hasta occurs between 10 degrees to 23.5 degrees of the Virgo zodiac sign. And Virgo is a placement that becomes quite a tough position for Venus to be in. Because here's the thing. Venus, mainly is a karka of spouse and love, marriage, bondage, relationship, unionship, family. Venus represents in its highest self devotion to the Almighty, devotion to God and goddesses. And Venus is definitely the karka of possessing things. Eating the fine foods, doing fine dining, eating, all the nice cheese and crackers with, 1969 Cabernet Sauvignon or Richeport. And that's what Venus is. So what happens with Virgo? Virgo represents the original 6th house energy, where Venus finds itself in the harshest position because here Venus has to fight for its ability to get everything that it wants in life. It has to fight a war to find luxury, has to fight a war to get a relationship, has to fight a war to find devotion. And in the Hasta Nakshatra side, Hasta represents hands, and it's the deity is Savitur, who is one of the 12 celestial sages, and it's one of the meaning of sun. And especially this particular nakshatra is very strongly connected to Gayatri Mantra, because Gayatri Mantra is about breaking your ties from this world and going to the higher celestial planes. So when Venus comes into this nakshatra, and remember, Hasta is about hands. It represents doing things with your hands, whether it's fighting, boxing, okay, or especially when Venus is in this nakshatra, Venus with moon, Venus and moon in this nakshatra, they are natural healers. Like, these people have healing hands. And remember, Venus is not you. Venus is your spouse. So don't be thinking like, well, this doesn't describe me. Of course it's not describing you. What is Venus's Karkavastha? It is the spouse. It is your wife and husband. So what happens with Venus and Hasta is like, if let's say you're sick and you're taking medicine and nothing is working. But if your spouse has Hasta Nakshatra with their, or you have Hasta Nakshatra with Venus in it, activating it. If your spouse was to rub their hands on your forehead, or just touch your hands suddenly you'll start feeling better. Like, wow, what is going on? I feel a lot better. My God, your love heals me. You know those sayings like your love heals me? That happens with this nakshatra. And especially Venus, when Venus is especially in its debilitated state, as it is in the sign of Virgo, anything which is non-living of Venus becomes very, very strongly alive. So here, this person, especially we can say that your spouse, will be very good in arts, painting, sewing, designing, sculpting, doing crafty things with their hands. They may not make a living through it, but it's something that just comes natural to them. And especially, like I said, healing with hands. Especially, let's say if you have Venus in the 3rd house in Virgo, your spouse could be a hand therapist or massage therapist who works on the hands. And especially Venus in Virgo and in the nakshatra of Hasta always tends to get a gift from some family member. Like the mother may give them something, and especially when your spouse has given somebody some object, something to borrow, and they give them back that object, great luck comes in your spouse's life. And especially when it comes to any kind of, like I had actually, last week, was it 2 weeks ago, Venus was conjunct Rahu in the nakshatra of Hasta. So I asked this person, does your spouse performs magic tricks with their hands? Or does your spouse is very good at gambling and playing cards? And the spouse, as a wife, the wife is an expert in playing any like blackjack and poker. She's very good at that. She knows what to do. So you see like how the hands, like she's very good with like, you know, playing cards and distributing cards with her hands. Because the spouse became an expert, and Rahu represents everything which is kind of like illicit, like gambling, magic tricks, you know, anything which is outside the confines of a good society. Like, you know, Rahu with Venus, in a way you can say represents Las Vegas. So such people are always into like sports betting, always into like, you know, playing some card game, always into wanting to even be a magician of sort. But for Venus here, everything that they achieve in their life is through their ability to fight for that. So if your spouse is a CEO, they had to literally fight for that position to get. They had to, like, you know, go to the end of the world to receive that position. It wasn't just like they were sitting at their desk and they're like, well, we have chosen you for CEO. Welcome. No, everything that they get, they have to fight with their hands. And metaphorically, you can say they just had to put in their effort. They had to talk to people. They had to convince people. So when Hasta represents hand, it's just not just like you can be a boxer or you will do things with your hands. Metaphorically speaking, it also translates where a person will simply have to fight for things. And how do you fight? You fight with your hands. Whether you fight with your hands or not, it still symbolizes that. And of course, based on the Padhas, house position, whole lot comes out with Hasta Nakshatra than just this. Like I was telling you with the Venus-Rahu conjunction, how it just played that perfectly, that one of those parts perfectly. You know, versus where if Venus with Saturn would be different, Venus with Mars would be a bit different. Venus with Mars and Hasta, I've seen people become like fitness trainers. So, you know, it all depends on what the quality of that Venus is and who's it with and what pada it's in. Okay. So guys, this is my analysis of Venus and Hasta Nakshatra. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your Venus is placed, all your other astrological details, my books, reports, consultations, for that check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.